In the telecommunications world, change is constant and fast. How do you accelerate? How do you win? By owning the change with an open strategy that lets you define your way forward. Digital service providers understand that an open, horizontal cloud strategy is the key to delivering new services faster, more securely with more flexibility, and at a lower cost. These industry leaders work with Red Hat. You know more change is coming. Own the change. Own your future.
Hi, this is Mark Newman, Chief Analyst at TM Forum. I'm here with Ian Hood, who is Chief Strategist at Red Hat. Good morning to you, Ian.
Good morning, Mark.
And we are reflecting on a session that we ran at Digital Transformation World yesterday on partnerships and how to choose your friends wisely, sensibly. And Ian and I were joined on a panel by Alicia Abella, Managing Director of Google Cloud, Ibrahim Gideon, CTO of TELUS in Canada, and Angela Marigopoulou, who is CIO B2B at Deutsche Telekom. We also had Fotis Koronis, who's recently left BT to join Capgemini, where he heads up their 5G practice. And I was with Nick Willits, CEO of TM Forum, leading the questioning. So we had some wide-ranging discussions, Ian, and I thought one of my takeaways from it was that there's actually a lot of goodwill from, we had with Angela, yourself, with Ibrahim and Alicia, we had potentially a mini partnership team, if you like. And there was a recognition of the need to partner and to put the customer interest first and not to let commercial considerations get in the way. So I certainly found that pretty positive.
Yeah, I did as well. That there were some positive signs of movement forward. We're certainly not where we'd like to be, but certainly the education in advance of RFPs, innovation in advance of RFPs, and kind of looking at for the longer term together and sharing the risk. I'm seeing some of that around the world, so that's really quite beneficial. So the partnership is evolving, maybe not as quickly as we'd like, but certainly head in the right direction. And
I think there's some realization that this has to happen, because if people don't collaborate, partner, and collectively sit with the customer, we simply won't create these capabilities to deliver value to the customer. So it's a prerequisite, if you like.
Definitely, and it's about empathy for that end customer and what business value you're bringing them. And that's really kind of the decision point of how we go about doing this. And worrying about how to build it and share it and what partners are needed comes after you solve the problem. And that's really kind of as you say, choose your partners wisely once you've actually solved the business problem.
I thought the other thing I found encouraging in the discussion yesterday was we had a conversation about marketplaces, and I asked a question to Angela and to Ibrahim. Do you mind being part of someone else's federated marketplace? Thinking they'd say, well, maybe they're not quite sure, but actually they said they were happy to be on someone else's marketplace, which is encouraging, because many telcos you'd expect to say, well, actually, we'd like to really own that marketplace. So that's a good sign.
It was a good sign from these particular operators, but it hasn't actually happened yet anywhere that I can see. There's marketplaces from IBM that Red Hat's technology is on. You've got AWS, Azure, et cetera, Google. And each of the operators has their own marketplace at this point. But I haven't seen anybody say, let's put my services that somebody can get to onto somebody else's marketplace. But at least they're willing to think about that in the future.
Well, let's hope this is a start. And then the other discussion we had was around standards, which was really interesting, wasn't it? Standards and open source, and this idea that maybe we need some sort of frameworks or standards. On the other hand, some standards can get in the way.
Absolutely. I find that standards tend to slow us down, and it's not really the right group of people doing things. Whereas in open source, it's really about an open process that is collaborative, about innovation. And innovation has to happen before we can standardize it. We have to kind of agree on things and say, this is how we're going to do things. And now becomes the de facto standard that we can actually follow. So that's kind of the, sort of what we see as the more better approach to it, whereas some standards tend to slow us down in delivering things. And there's also the fact that standards need to either die, or in some cases, we need to reuse them in a different way rather than creating yet another one that we have to go follow.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Ian, I enjoyed the discussion. Thanks for your contributions yesterday, and I hope to see you again in person sometime soon.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Mark. And just one kind of thing to wrap up was to talk about some of the places where there are some innovation collaboration going on.
Yeah.
That's with our customer Optus in Australia, where we built some voice services on top of a cloud-native platform. Another one that's really well known in the industry is Telenor's 5G SA, where they've collected a group of partners to deliver their 5G. And on top of that, Rakuten in Japan has spent a couple of years building out their partnership to build their next generation mobile network with Red Hat and Cisco and NEC and others. And they'd be kind of a hallmark of this. And also the fact that in some cases, these telcos are actually investing in the technologies and buying these companies, Rakuten, Microsoft, et cetera.
Yeah, very important to take these examples and to apply the learning. So thank you so much, Ian.